Hi, I'm Mike Barham. I'm the Media and PR Manager for Galco Holster Company, and I want to talk a little bit about the leather that we use in our holsters. Now, Galco competes for the top 2% of available domestic vegetable tan leather production. And this is actually kind of difficult because there are only 2 tanneries left in the United States that do the type of vegetable tanning of high quality domestic leather that we need to create our premium steer hide holsters. We have to compete with all kinds of other companies, not just holster manufacturers, but we need to compete with upholstery makers, people who refit cars with high-end leather, people who make high-end wallets and ladies' handbags. We compete with all of them to get the top 2% of domestic leather production for our premium holsters. And if you ever went into our factory, first of all, it smells incredible if you know what oiled premium leather smells like. But you'll look around and you would see holsters being made by American craftsmen who, some of whom are so dedicated to the company, they've been with us 30, 35, even 40 years. And they're using machinery, many machines of which have not been made in over 100 years. For example, the harness stitching machines we use to stitch through this very thick, high quality leather are over 100 years old. They haven't been made in decades and decades and decades. And in fact, when they do occasionally break, we have to make the parts to replace them in our own machine shop. But we found that those machines do the best job, and they can't really be replaced by anything. And that's why we've continued to use them for so long. I also mentioned our extremely dedicated staff of artisans and craftsmen who make these holsters. And these are the people who spend time hand molding these holsters. We have one employee, Manuel, who's been with us for over 35 years, and at last count, he had molded by hand over 1.2 million holsters, which I think is pretty impressive. We have people who've been with us for decades who are working on doing the edge stitching on these holsters, people who do the cutting. So we have this tremendous amount of human capital at Galco, people with tremendous experience in this art, who make these holsters for us right there in Phoenix, Arizona. So let's talk a little bit about the holster that we're using at this particular event with the Colt 9mm 1911s. This is our Avenger holster. And just to give a little bit of history on this particular design, this evolved from an original design by somebody named Bruce Nelson, who was a narcotics officer in Southern California who eventually transitioned into being a holster maker in Tucson, Arizona. And Bruce Nelson worked out basically this original design with the vertical angle, the tunnel loop on the back, and the trailing belt slot, which helps pull the butt of the gun in for a little bit better concealment when you're carrying concealed. Bruce unfortunately died an untimely death in the late 1980s, and his design was passed on to Milt Sparks, who made the same holster as the 55BN, BN honoring Bruce Nelson. And a lot of manufacturers picked up this basic design to the point where it's sort of a generic thing in the holster industry now. You can't even trademark the name Avenger anymore because so many people have made it. Bianchi made it for several years. They called it the Askins Avenger, and they had a forward tilt on it. And that was named after Colonel Charles Askins, who was sort of a famous Border Patrol gunfighter and a pretty famous pistol competitor in the earlier part of the 20th century. But Galco's version, I think, is the best. And part of that is because of the quality of the leather we use, that top 2% that I mentioned, the hand molding and hand work that goes into every one of our premium leather products. And it's great for the kind of event we're doing here at Range Ready with these Colt pistols because the vertical angle allows the fastest wrist lock draw. And that's very important when you're working out here on the range and need to get out of the holster and straight on to the target. This is a great range holster, but it also works really well, as I briefly mentioned, as a concealment holster especially for larger guns, and if you like a vertical carry method, which I personally prefer, and this is one of the holsters I use for concealed carry at my home back in Arizona. But this is the Avenger holster, and again, a great range holster and also an excellent concealment holster.